All righty. Well, I would say complementing the amazing ideas that we've just seen from Cesare and your awesome video and all this great discussion, complementing that, right? I'd like to present some stuff. So I'm going to screen share, and here it goes. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to start with kind of a general picture that I just sketched with pencil and paper of just kind of a general flow, and then we can get into some of the details. But this is kind of our vision of collective superintelligence, just very conceptually. So we have the conversational domain, and that we've talked about, and you've all seen in the videos, 1 million parallel conversations, transcribed, indexed, searchable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can have your own bot that can help you kind of navigate this whole maze, et cetera. But the basic idea is that you pursue your passion at any moment in time. What do you want to be talking about right now? If you're passionate about it, you're going to be productive, and you're going to get right in there and go for it. If you're bored, you're not. So why be in meetings where you're bored when you can be in meetings where you're passionate and on fire? People pursuing their passions and interests will help themselves and others, all of us, to develop deep understandings of problems, solutions, and visions of global transformation. These can lead to helping us figure out how to best structure our visions for a whole world in a systematic way. And I'm a big fan of taxonomies. And so let me just do a quick change of presentation just so I can, this is funny, it's funny, the controls won't let me change the window here, which is kind of a little frustrating. Oh, here we go, I'll just do it this way. Oh, there we go, okay. So imagine we start with just with a conceptualization of a whole world, okay? And we could talk for hours about that, but let's say we break it down into wholeness for people and wholeness for the planet. And this is very conceptual. You can make this taxonomy any way you wanted. But, imagine that for people, we identified, physical needs and kind of higher needs. And then wholeness for the planet can break it down into its core systems. Again, these are all perspectives. And so just very conceptually, you can imagine, breaking it down. Well, people need this and this and this. And one of the things they need is food. How do we break that down? Well, let's break it down by continent and then by urban versus rural, whatever. But the bottom line is by continuing to break it down and break it down and break it down, think of this as an upside down tree. At the extrema of the tree, you have leaves. So these leaf nodes are like very, very specific, very local, very bounded needs. Now, if we take those needs and then set about figuring out ways to address those needs, that's what the next slides are about. So same basic image, but now imagine we've got, potentially millions of leaf node needs, all of which the idea is that ideally we will satisfy all of the needs of people and planet, all the needs of a whole world. And we'll talk about brain swarming, but it's a methodology to basically say, hey, look, if we focus in on this one specific need, right? In the example in the black box below, it's removing ice from power lines, for instance. There's a very cool, exhaustive, systematic methodology for generating ideas for solutions to that very specific, in this case, physical problem. That connects resources down here with the main goal through sub-goals and sub-goals, et cetera, combinations of resources. Anyway, we can go through that later, but the bottom line is we have a systematic methodology for generating ideas to fulfill needs. Now, and this just gets more into the methodology. We explore different ways of meeting that need, different sub-ways, et cetera, and different combinations of resources. And by connecting the two, combinations of resources with ways, or very specific subways, in this case of meeting that need, that's when solutions start to emerge. But these are ideas for solutions. And the idea is that the big idea is that we do this holistically, right? So that we come up with multiple solutions to meet all the needs of a whole world. And when you have multiple solutions operating in parallel, well, first let me comment, take that one solution on the right, that's designed to meet this specific need right up here, right? But in the process of meeting that need, using these resources, which might include oil and chemicals and who knows what else, we might end up negatively impacting other needs, like the need for clean air, right? So any solution will have its intended consequences and unintended consequences. Now, the unintended consequences can be positive or negative. So we want to model them all, okay? So in the end, we come up with what I call this the spaghetti factory view, because each of these solutions doesn't just have one direct line. Oh, I'm here to solve this and that's all I do. No, you have other unintended positive consequences, the blue line, that impact other needs. And you have unintended negative consequences, which negatively impact other needs. And so if you think of each of these leaf node needs as having like its own balance sheet, for whatever combination of solutions we're contemplating to meet all the needs that we possibly can, each leaf node need will tally up, or will have tallied up for it by the system, the impacts of positive solutions positively impacting it, minus the impacts of the negative solutions. You get the idea, right? Okay, and then we can go, we go much deeper into how do we connect the conversational domain to this. We need conversations around all of this, and here's where I see a beautiful complementarity, which is that ideas in the realm of Egora can now be operated on through conversations, which enrich them, clarify them, maybe recruit members or supporters of that idea, or recruit detractors from the idea, as the case may be. But in any case, there are ideas up and down the entire stack. There are ideas about a whole world. There are ideas about people. There are ideas about the planet and how people and the planet should coexist. There are ideas about all these needs, which are real needs, which are fake needs, which are needs that should or shouldn't be there. Anyway, we have conversations all up and down the stack, all the way down to resources and which resources we should use and which we should not use. Nancy would argue that we shouldn't use animals to generate power or to do whatever, etc. So, and then finally, well, anyway, there's a lot more to go. I'm just going to breeze through it. But in the end, we want to simulate all the different proposed solutions and in combination and actually deploy an optimization layer. This used to be my job years ago as a consultant, to build models and optimization layers. The optimization layer basically, using AI, automatically searches through the vast space of all the solutions that have been cooked up and generates the optimal set and the optimal deployment plan. Okay, and more from that deck in a little bit. Right now, let me go to the other deck, back to this big picture scenario. So that I just showed you takes us all the way up to taxonomy, solution generation. In the previous slides, there's one part that I didn't cover yet, which was design. This is a new thing. So from an idea of a solution, right, to the design of the solution, is like, there's a whole world of difference there. Obviously, the design makes it very specific. And once we have a specific design, then we can actually model it. Okay, and that's where the model and the optimization layer come into play. So just in brief recap, conversations lead to understanding, and more conversations lead to a fleshing out of a taxonomy of a whole world, looking at it holistically. What are all the things we care about? That's our context. Great, how do we generate solutions? Well, brain swarming, which I still haven't showed how it works, but it's a really cool methodology. I kind of showed some of the basic idea, but there's a great video to see about it. That generates myriad solutions, just exhaustive sets of possible solutions. The best ideas get designed. By who? By people who love those solutions so much that they say, hey, I want to see this go down the path of design and modeling and finally implementation if it makes the final cut, which is determined by the optimization layer. And the net of all this is to generate, the net goal is to generate two things: an optimal set of solutions and a detailed implementation plan for what do we do first, second, third in terms of implementing these solutions. Now, one thing I want to further point out in terms of the complementarity of Egora and this view of collective superintelligence is that, first of all, I'm an engineer and I'm the son of an engineer, and so I think like an engineer, and so I think in terms of like, you know, engineering solutions to real world physical problems, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you consider, this was literally drawn on a piece of paper. Now consider a separate piece of paper that kind of hovers 1 inch off of this one and is a parallel universe. That piece of paper might contain a whole bunch of ideas that fit more in the realm of philosophy, politics, culture, et cetera, you know, that aren't exactly engineering solutions, shall we say, but are perfectly valid ideas in their own right. So imagine you've got the world of physical solutions and the world of philosophy. And for that matter, we could add as many pages as we want, pages for political solutions, cultural solutions, social, religious, whatever, solutions, ideas, whatever, right? And so from this page, let's turn it into a whole book. Obviously, philosophical ideas are a lot, they are great as ideas. How do you design something from it? Well, maybe you don't. How do you model a philosophical idea? Well, maybe you don't. I don't know. So maybe this whole thing that we're looking at on this page is great for generating physical solutions to physical problems, but needs to be supported in turn by cultural ideas and solutions, political ideas and solutions, philosophical ideas and solutions, and so on. So that each world ideally reinforces and supports the other world. I don't know if I'm getting too far out there for folks. So let me go back to video conference mode and see if I can answer any questions or comments or anything. But I just wanted to kind of give that additional layer to what we've been cooking up. And just how I see this is like, wow, this all needs to come together, right? Because philosophical ideas need to be married with, you know, precise engineering solutions, which in turn need to be balanced against intended and unintended consequences. So basically there's the whole engineering and physics side, and then there's the philosophical side. And then from there you can go on to political, cultural, social, religious, living arrangements, human needs, whatever. So the bottom line is, I just think it can all play together really, really beautifully, and we just need to maybe see how do we facilitate the gears meshing and whatnot. But in the meantime, I think Egora is a great place to start, because all of the, you know, because the taxonomy itself is an idea of representing the world, right? You know, let's work on that. Let's work on the set of needs. People can vote up or vote down. Well, I need to be able to take an airplane to Hawaii whenever I want. Well, no, you don't, asshole, because that's what's destroying the planet. You know, if you want to sail over there with Greta, great, but no, don't fly. So, you know, downvote this need to fly to Hawaii and take a cruise around the islands or whatever. All right, Cesare, looks like you got something you want to add. Please jump in.
Well, I think if somebody wants to fly to Hawaii real bad, then go ahead and do it. Just pay the appropriate price, which might be around $10,000. If you really need to do it, you'll save for it, and you'll probably cut down on your other emissions because of that saving. So, I mean, I'm all about people allowing people to prioritize their needs for themselves, you know, however is important to them. For somebody, it might be necessary to fly to Hawaii at a certain point in time. Well, again, market-based solutions, you know, politically, we should set the boundaries for each, for market actors to act as freely as they want to act, so. It's
Yeah,
just,
I hear what you're saying, but market-based solutions themselves, that's an idea, right? Anyway, so it all boils down to ideas and solutions, and which ones do we want to go with and which ones not. But anyway, all this is just like so big. I'm kind of like, just wow. I don't.
well, I'm curious what of your methodology you would be able to contribute to the Egora environment. You've been developing this really fantastic way for people to connect online, which to me, it's always a placeholder for people who can't be there in person. Like the in-person meetings is really what it, because ideally, if we could all just teleport into one location, it would be even better if we could all just meet in the same space. Um, but still, yeah. So
well, that's what this is. We have all teleported. We're all meeting in the cloud. Hi. We're here. We are together in the cloud, and it's kind of a version of ourselves that's teleported to the cloud. The real physical Jamin is right here. Only I can touch me in this world. Shankar tried to touch me. Can't touch this.
well,
Okay.
see, the difference is if there was some kind of a cute girl at the meeting, and when the meeting's over and we're both walking out, I could chat with her and be like, "Hey, which way you walking? You want to get a cup of coffee?" Can't do that at this meeting. There is a difference. There is a difference.
I'm not saying there's no difference. That's the last thing I'm saying. I'm just saying this is a face-to-face meeting. It's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
but it is face-to-face, and it's very real. This is happening. I'm not dreaming this, right?
It's as close as you can get. Yeah.
And especially in Corona times, but even before Corona times, I mean, the million lane superhighway, of those million lanes, only like a half a dozen are accessible to you practically. That'll take you 20 minutes or less to get there, right? And even 20 minutes can be a substantial switching cost, especially if you're hot on the trail of some big idea that needs to draw from multiple other facets and you need to go pollinating around meeting to meeting. I mean, I was dreaming of the moment when humanity would all be in front of their computer screens and we could build a million lane highway and people could zap around. In that sense, the coronavirus is a huge gift to collective superintelligence, because we are all sitting down or standing up, as I am right now, so my back doesn't get worn out. And we're jumping from meeting to meeting. This is the beginning. This is our moment, right? And we urgently need this. So what can we, so how can we play together, is how I'm going to interpret your previous question. And what I would say is, number one, let's build out the taxonomy of topics that we want to cover at every block party. Let's work on that schedule. I'm not saying we have to do that right now, but that's one of the things that there would be to do. Just as I was suggesting to Jeff earlier, hey, Jeff, round up your folks. I'll say the same thing to Brett Warshawski, same thing to Dylan, same thing to you, Cesare, same thing to all of us. Line up your folks. 24 hours is a long time. Find out what windows they want to talk in, lead a conversation in. And let's get more and more people together, have these conversations, transcribe the meetings, and obviously, publish the meetings on your platform so that people from your from Egora can come to the meetings, publish them. So we need to build a universal calendar, but that's kind of a separate big thing on its own. Very important, by the way, where all these different, organizations, movements, clusters, whatever you want to call them, right? Egora, platforms, communities, whatever. So Egora is a perfect example. That all these different communities can post their meetings on a universal calendar, all those meetings that they want the world to know about, obviously, not secret meetings. Universal calendar, go through the full spectrum of topics every single week. So this becomes, the closest, this becomes sort of like a way station, a halfway point, a base camp kind of milestone, not pointing to the base camp software, though that's a good metaphor, but a base camp on our way to the top of Everest. right? So this block party can become such a base camp, right? Where we reliably cover all these topics, and in so doing, and doing them in one big sequence, one big cluster, we by default cover them holistically because they're in such close proximity and there's so much overlap from one meeting to the next. Obviously, people come and go as they choose. Very few of us are here for the full 24 hours. Everyone's welcome to, but it's a bit of a marathon. With the transcriptions of the meeting, see, here's a really interesting thing. As the idea space grows and grows and grows, and I think it'll be way bigger than thousands. I think you'll get deep into the tens of thousands of ideas, if not hundreds of thousands, especially if you open it up beyond, philosophy and whatnot into specific engineering ideas. I'd like to see one kind of giant database, a singular, just like I want to see a universal calendar, we need a singular universal database of ideas and solutions, another one for problems. And so with the transcripts of all the different meetings across all the different platforms, not just here at the block party, but all the meetings that want to play in the universal calendar and get all this exposure, with those transcripts, folks will be able to do searches that go way beyond advanced search. There's something I'll just point to, which is archive Sanity, but it's basically like a whole document kind of comparison. Well, if it can do that for documents, it can do it for transcripts of meetings. So let's just say you came out of that was the greatest meeting I ever had, and it went for an hour and a half. We could the software that already exists, it's open source, it's developed by the head of AI for Tesla, and it's up on GitHub, so anyone can use it. But we use that software to say, okay, wow, that was the greatest meeting I ever had. Compare that meeting text-wise in terms of words and word frequency, et cetera, et cetera. Compare that to all the other meetings that have ever existed and show me other meetings I might want to participate in. Other meetings that I might say, oh, shucks, sorry, I missed that one, but here, let me either read the transcript or watch the video, but most importantly, get on the next meeting in that series, because we have series of meetings. Serialization is a key part of it, because a lot of these concepts need to be developed over time. People need to sleep on them. They have a meeting, they sleep on it. In between sleeping on it, they go to your Facebook page where you showed it as an example. So think of it as this kind of dialectic between a synchronous face-to-face meeting like we're having right now, and then asynchronous discussion forum, text-based follow-up development of ideas. Obviously, that's a much slower route. Well, there's 7 days between meetings if you have a weekly meeting. So you got 7 days to develop stuff slowly, and then boom, you're back in the high-speed lane of face-to-face, talking about everything that was chatted about, discussed on text-based discussion forum, Reddit style, or Facebook, however we like Reddit, but anyway. That can happen during the week, and then it's kind of like punctuated by a face-to-face meeting, which doesn't have to be a long one, right? There are so many topics that are crucial to saving life on Earth right now that for me, it makes a lot of sense that we group these topics and pack them in their respective groupings so that once a week, we do a full 24-hour cycle on all these topics. And the way I see it, there are some people that are going to gravitate more towards Egora and just going to want to be there in the realm of text and don't really want to be in these long meetings with, loquacious people like myself. On the other hand, there are people who are going to gravitate more towards meetings and say, oh, I just love being in meetings. I love talking. That's me, right? And, sure, let me know about great meetings that may have been discussed over months on Egora or Reddit or whatever. Okay, let's have the meeting. Let's talk about it. What's the action item? What do we need to do to forward this idea? Or what do we need to do to improve the idea? Where's the idea at? Is it at the idea stage? Is it the design stage? Is it being modeled? Is it being implemented? Where is it at in the cycle, right? And I know I'm just spewing out a bunch of ideas, kind of a mile a minute here, but I'm just kind of brainstorming how we can work together. And I think there's just insane potential for doing it. And I know it's pretty late where you are there, Cesare, so don't let us keep you up past your bedtime if you need to get some beauty sleep.
Yeah, what you trying to say? No, yeah, just wanted to finish listening to you to the end, and yeah, I'm gonna check out. Yeah, it's one of the things about ideas in Egora is that, I mean, you can say an idea can be whatever you want. It could be one word, it could be one book. Uh, but the idea is that an idea is not just your opinion. It's not just what you want. It's also an acknowledgement of certain facts. It's also an argument that leads from the facts, and an acknowledgement of certain base values that people have. And so it's an argument based on those values, on those facts, leading to a certain conclusion, like a certain economic policy, or a certain social, I don't know, trajectory or something like that. So the idea is that within the idea, you're expressing a lot of the things that people might discuss at a meeting. It's like an idea should, in a way, be almost like a self-contained meeting, a little bit. Of course, it's not going to have a lot of the at a meeting you have people coming from all different walks of life. Some people know less about economics, some people know a lot more, and again, some people know a lot about other things, so about the environment and energy. And so the idea is that people can fill in those blanks at the meetings, but that core structure of what an idea is and what should be discussed at the meeting, well, is contained within that idea. And the idea behind that is to minimize reading. Like, ideas should be high impact. They should, yeah, they should be well developed, but they should also be to the point as much as possible, as brief as possible.
Cesare, are you
Yeah.
familiar with Rebel Wisdom? Rebel Wisdom?
No.
Okay, you can check them out. And one of the people they sometimes interview is a professor from the University of Toronto, Professor John Vervaeke, cognitive science. And he has a 50-part YouTube series. Each of the 50 videos is 1 hour long, and it's titled Awakening from the Meaning Crisis. And I'm just thinking, your platform and the philosophy that you're so interested in, would be something you'd want to check out. John Vervaeke, Vervaeke. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, please do. Well, I'll get that on my way out, but real pleasure to meet every one of you.
Totally. I don't want to let you go, Cesare. Don't go. No, here's like one more idea, and then we'll be here like an hour later. One more idea. No, but one more is, one of the things I love about what you're doing is the modularity of your ideas, right? So you see, right now when we're having a conversation, blah, 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 we're just talking. So I want to make an analogy. If a normal conversation is like carving something out of wood, an Egora empowered conversation is like snapping Lego blocks together, where the Lego blocks are predefined, established ideas that are modular, contained, right? Encapsulated and connectable. So, I mean, that's just way more efficient. I mean, if I wanted to make a certain shape out of wood, it might take me weeks, but Lego blocks, I could probably have it done in minutes, right? And so I think this modular, I think you alluded to this earlier about the efficiency. Let's create a modular world of ideas, components of ideas, supporting ideas, philosophical foundational pillars that support a given practical idea, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's part of the connectability.
And you're an engineer, and you bring up Lego blocks. I did build the first and only remote control Lego submarine in the world with a pressure system. So,
all right, dude, you had already earned my respect Now I'm thinking about crossing the line. Hey, Melissa, do you mind if I cross the line? And I'm just kidding. Anyway, you get what I'm saying.
No, but you and I got to talk, man. By the way, I lost your email address. I saved your phone number, and I can't really text, so I'm gonna have to.
Here, no, I'm just gonna type it in for you and I.
But one thing I want to say about the whole, because this is an engineering analogy, this whole idea of super intelligence and how I have come to see it and understand it from this work, is because what's amazing about Egora is that it allows, let's say, lower information and maybe even lower intelligence people to function, at least to a certain extent, at a higher level. It actually, like if you have the spectrum of society, like a random, well, not a spectrum, but a random array of different people based on what their, like, let's say, intellectual and informational capabilities are. And, so some people are like, they're really high up there and other people are smaller. And so you have different people at different heights, like all throughout society. Well, the way that politics works is it works at the lowest level of those lowest members, and potentially even lower, even below the lowest members. But yeah, it's so these people that are above the norm, it's like unused potential. And so you have this is the level of politics at this certain level of individuals. Egora allows us to raise that to the highest level of who it allows everyone to function at the level of the highest participants. And the reason for that is because you might have someone who doesn't know a lot about economics, or but if they talk to someone who is more informed, and they explain, like, here is an idea about this specific policy, and that person says, you know what, that makes sense to me. I'm not an expert in this, but it makes sense. I heard it from an expert. I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to add this idea to my ideological profile. For all intents and purposes, if somebody's reading that person's ideological profile, they don't know really what their background is, if they're highly educated in economics or not. But it allows for that person to carry on that knowledge to the next person, so that when this person, who maybe is not an expert in economics, they engage in a discussion with someone who, I don't know, who's more skilled, they can say, here, these are my ideas, look at my ideological profile. And that other person can look at that information and analyze it and be like, even though that person would not be able to articulate those ideas themselves, they're able to show that person, here, this is my philosophy. Take a look. Let me read yours. I'll read yours. You read mine. And that person will be able to see that person's philosophy and be like, you know what? Hey, you actually have some good ideas. And even if that person cannot communicate those ideas themselves personally, they're still able to transfer those ideas to that next person. And so that's what I mean. It allows us to function at that higher level, because it's like a bridge. Those idea creators are the ones who are functioning at the highest levels, but those other people are still I don't know. Actually, this is not a good analogy. I need to find a better analogy. But the point is it allows for people to carry and transfer that knowledge that was created by, well, let's say really smart people, to pass them on to other really smart people, and for everyone to function at that same level.
Beautiful. And there's so many other ways that we could use your database, because sometimes, like, one of the problems / opportunities we work on a lot is for a given problem, whether it's an engineering problem, a science problem, political problem, whatever. And some people are working on that problem. The artificial intelligence, as it gains experience observing, listening to, transcribing, conversations that lead to solutions in a given domain, right? Those patterns of who participated, what knowledge they brought with them, what ideas they have in their stack, their Egora stack, combined with their resume, combined with whatever else, everything they've written, every blog post they've done, whatever. I could share my whole hard drive with the AI. In fact, there'll be a positive feedback loop. The more you share with the AI, the better it can position you. Back to positioning, given your Egora stack of knowledge and preferences and all that, and the AI patterning off that, they can say, oh, okay, here are these three people trying to solve this problem, but they're not getting very far very fast. Aha, given previous pattern matching and the Egora database and other information, they need these other three people so that they can form a team of 6, because here we're bringing in the economists that they're missing, here we're bringing in the biologists that they're missing, and here we're bringing in the political theorists that they're missing, based on previous pattern matching. Right? And of course, it'll constantly learn. If those 6 people get together and just argue, then the AI is going to say, what was wrong with that? Well, I don't know, but I'm going to put it in the pattern set of failed meetings so that we don't repeat that mistake again, right? You get what I'm saying, right? Pattern matching, AI, that's what AI is best at.
I see what you're saying with that. Actually, to me, that's quite a contentious position. I think the best way to do that is self-selection. The way that who should be at the meeting? Well, the people who want to be at the meeting should be at the meeting. And if you keep the meeting group size small, well, okay, so there is let's say there is a meeting at this place and time discussing about this idea. Well, actually, the whole idea of the International Logic Party meetings is that there is always no more than 23 people. 23 is the max. Actually, everything is based on 23. But so yeah, 23 is the maximum number of speakers, so that there is enough time for everyone to speak, to make their closing statements, whatever they may be, for a certain amount of time. Yeah, so. Yeah, if anybody wants to be there, if somebody wants to be there, that means they belong there. And if the space is full, hey, guess what? Organize your own meeting to discuss that idea. And if other people want to discuss that, they'll come to it. It's their opportunity to voice their opinion for, against, or or something to develop. Or somebody else, if it's a really popular idea, if it's if it's a really important idea to a lot of people, there are probably going to be many different meetings happening in many different places at many different times, and you can find the one that you want to go to. The idea is that eventually Egora will be able to create an idea dominance index of just the people who are attending the meeting. So you have a sense of not just what the population as a whole is thinking, but just the participants of that meeting. So you can see what the ideas are represented in that micro group. And that's another thing I wanted to add too. Is like Egora right now, it's set up so people identify themselves by their nations, but you could just go in there and say your nation is radish, and you could use that as nothing, not even paying attention to any of the International Logic Party stuff. You could just create your own little subgroup to organize your own little community for your own ideas, and whoever identifies themselves by that group, there's actually a way to even keep it secret. Like, as long as none of those people are declared as International Logic Party members, they're not displayed, so nobody knows that your group is even there organizing ideas. Well, no, they would actually, no, I take that back. It would be seen, but I'm just saying it. Anyways, if you wanted to really wanted to keep your group secret, just launch your own Egora for your own, for your own community. The software is there, the software is public, and you can organize whatever ideas, pertaining to whatever the hell you want.
Beautiful, beautiful. Just so I'm not misunderstood, because I don't think I clarified very well. But first of all, I totally agree with everything you said. Everyone go to whatever meeting they want. If it's full, start your own. We've thought about that quite a bit. Here's where I was going with the pattern matching thing. It's kind of a little bit of a subtle point, but an important one. Again, as an engineer, the fields of engineering are so broad, so vast, so many specialties. I'm just like, let's say we've got an engineering problem, and some folks at a steel mill are trying to figure out, why does this bearing keep breaking? What do we need to do? Through pattern matching, the AI may see, oh, they need a lubricant expert. That's what they're missing. right? Oh, got it. Okay, let's bring them in. And it's just a suggestion. It's not like, you cannot have this meeting unless you have these people. No, it's nothing like that. It's just suggestions. And so, you know, as an engineer with a certain specialty, I might subscribe to say, hey, if there's ever a meeting that needs someone like me, please let me go. I'm not promising that I'll show up, but I would like to know those meetings that need Jamin Shively. That'll help me choose. Everyone chooses where they go. No one's forced, right? But suggestions are great things. Hey, we suggest you bring a biologist into this meeting. Are you interested? Click this button if you are. Click this other button if you're not.
That makes sense. That's good, actually. That would be a good tool to add, so people from to bring people from different areas of expertise, if they see. Yeah, that would actually be really help to organize the knowledge within the group that's meeting. So you diversify the information pool a little bit. Yeah.
Totally. Or, you know, even if it's a meeting on politics or whatever, the AI through patterns might find that, oh, if they're talking financial policy, and it's a bunch of politicians, that it really helps if you bring in an economist with the specialization in the Markovian distribution of resources that was developed in Holland in 1962. You know, whatever, right? Or if none of those people are available, you know, broaden it a little bit, that kind of thing. Anyway, we think a lot in these terms because, again, we're thinking about a holistic set of solutions. Again, not just engineering solutions, but all these others, which for me, partly is what makes me so excited about Egora, is that it does go so deep into politics and philosophy and these other areas that we engineers generally don't think about too much, right? But, you know, as I've mentioned many times regarding solar radiation management, which would be my #1 priority were it not for Corona and world hunger right now, with SRM, the engineering solutions are the least of it. And we've got great technical folks who are already on top of that, not completely, but making really good ground. Where we need help, we need political solutions for getting SRM implemented. We need financial solutions. We need private sector solutions. We need nonprofit sector solutions. We need religious solutions, for crying out loud. We're going to change the face of the earth with SRM. And so we need a whole bunch of solutions to get us there. Engineering is just table stakes, you know, having a good engineering solution. So anyway, so we think very broadly about a holistic set of solutions, which will easily number in the millions, okay? And then think about like a Swiss clock with millions of parts, right? That's some heavy duty engineering to get that right and to get it done in time, right? The next closest analogy I can think of is NASA and the Apollo missions. They were able to create a collective intelligence in the 1960s by basically hiring a whole bunch of really smart people and giving them a bunch of money and resources and everything else and access to universities and labs and whatever. That's the closest analogy. Here, we're doing it as essentially an open source NASA for stopping Corona, ending world hunger, cooling the planet, healing the world's ecosystems, healing the world's life supporting systems, et cetera, et cetera. So from this perspective of this kind of mechanical universe sort of perspective with all these intricate moving parts with so many complex interrelationships, that's why we think so much about every little part and making sure we have the technology to assemble, so to speak, the people through recommendations and everything else. But of course, as the world continues to collapse around us, everyone's going to be super motivated. What can I do to contribute to saving life on Earth? Join the collective superintelligence, upload your resume, upload your hard drive, upload everything you're comfortable uploading so the AI can pattern off of you and give you the best recommendations possible, right? And looks like it's time for a break, which will coincide perfectly with your bedtime, Cesare, as you'll probably be happy to hear. And but dial back in when you wake up.
I just might. I'm gonna have to see what's on the schedule for tomorrow morning. But yeah, I think I'll still be able to do that before you.
Awesome.
All right.
Right.
So I'm going to check out. Great to meet you, everyone.
Great to see you, Cesare. And thank you so much for staying up all night with us. Your time.
Oh, hey, James is back.
James
So
is back. All right.
yeah.
And it looks like
Shankar, I didn't hear
Look-
anything.
By the
from
way,
Shankar.
hi again. You can still meet cute chicks online.
Oh, wait.
living proof of that right
You'll
here.
just have virtual relationship, but that's kind of cool.
You can tell there's a lot behind that.
That's all right.
That's okay.
And the butterflies are back because humans aren't out and about. Yay.
All right, awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, let's have an optional break period, and I can either stop recording or not, depending on. So, sweetheart, are we ready to eat?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break for what, half an hour, dinner break, something like that? All
Yeah,
right.
no. Nice fun. Nice meeting you, Cesare. I may talk to you in the morning, bye. It's the same time here for me as well, but I'll probably still hang in for another while anyway. I'm a night owl, so but I'll talk to you tomorrow anyway in the morning. So, but nice meeting you, and fantastic that you're after joining, you know, the collective, so to speak. So brilliant. I was here all the time, listening all the time, even though I had my camera switched off. I'm just doing stuff around the place, but I'm here listening constantly.
Yeah, thank you,
We're
James.
honored.
Thank you all. Awesome.
Thank all of you.
Oh, so exciting. All right. So let's break for half an hour. Does that work for people? Is that gonna be enough for us, sweetie?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Or you know what we could do? We could round it up to 38 minutes so that we meet back at 7:30 Pacific time, which is 38 minutes from now. I think that's a reasonable dinner break time. Okay. So 7:30 Pacific time, in 38 minutes, we will resume. I'm going to stop recording for now.